right, so before we get into the topic, I gotta ask y'all something. Have you noticed something that on your Instagram, if you follow the UFC, have you been getting like power slap videos? Like I hate what Instagram has done, because now there's like that it's like a multi tag to where you see things from another account that you don't even follow. Like, so I've been seeing like a bunch of power slap videos, and I don't even follow power slap. I even clicked on them to make sure that I don't follow power slap. So it's either A, I have to completely block power slap. Will that even work? Or I have to unfollow the UFC. It shouldn't have to be like that. I follow the UFC for UFC content. I don't follow the UFC for UFC and power slap. Alright, anyways, I had to get that off my chest, people. Comment down below if you've been experiencing that, if you've been noticing that lately, because it's been really grinding my gears. So this video is actually about the new announcement of, what is this, UFC 287. It's supposed to happen sometime in April. It's Alex Pereira versus Israel Adesanya 2, and then I'm thinking that it's going to be Gilbert Burns versus Jorge Masvidal in the co-main event. This is huge news, people. Huge news, especially because Gilbert Burns has literally been calling out Jorge Masvidal, and it's been kind of one of those situations where it's like people have been saying Jorge has been kind of dodging Gilbert Burns, and I don't know. I don't necessarily have an opinion on it, but I would say that Gilbert Burns isn't the best matchup when it comes down to the options that Jorge Masvidal could have possibly had. You know, if we're talking like Conor McGregor, he was calling out Conor. He's a better matchup for Jorge. He was calling out Leon Edwards, and he's a better matchup for Jorge. But those two matchups didn't really make sense. Gilbert Burns made the most sense. Kind of, I guess. Gilbert Burns been calling him out, though. And so I guess it works, but it's kind of working down for Gilbert Burns, in my opinion. What do you guys think? Do you think that is a good next matchup for Gilbert Burns? Even though, Gilbert Burns has been... He's been fighting really consistently. Been fighting. Didn't he just beat? He literally just beat Neil Magny. And so I don't know. I think maybe it's kind of a downgrade in a fight as far as the rankings go. But I mean, hey, the UFC hasn't really been working off rankings lately, now have they? But if I had to go off the rip on who I think would win this fight, I'm going to have to go with Gilbert Burns. I think he's a bad matchup for Jorge, especially with that jiu-jitsu behind Gilbert Burns. I think if he can get a hold of Jorge, clinch him up, get him to the ground, that's Gilbert Burns' fight. But Gilbert Burns is also not a slouch, people, when it comes to the stand-up game. And so I think Jorge, his best shot is of course through striking, and he can of course get it done there. But I think that if we're talking about the odds here, if we're talking about who has the best probability of winning, I would say it's probably Gilbert Burns. Now, going up to Alex Pereira versus Israel Adesanya 2. I feel this is going to be a very interesting matchup, in a sense that this is the second time they fought in MMA, people, okay? In MMA. I understand that they've had their bouts outside of MMA, but I think when it comes to MMA fights and kickboxing bouts, they're a bit different, because of course there's obviously more aspects involved when it comes to MMA, grappling, clinching, all kinds of different things. And I feel Israel kind of missed the point in the last fight. And I say that because of this. I feel like if I were Izzy's coach, I would have told him to mix in more takedowns, and you don't even have to be extremely serious with the takedowns. You can just threaten them. Mix it up. This is a mixed martial arts fight. And so I think that could have posed a plus for Izzy, because Izzy has more MMA experience. And so that would have been my advice to Izzy. Of course, continue to use your stand up, but also do what you can when it comes to grappling, because I feel like Izzy is still a better grappler than Alex Pereira. That's where, and that's huge, because Izzy is not a grappler by any sort. And so I feel like that could be a huge factor for Izzy if he just utilized it a little bit more. Now, Izzy did almost finish Alex Pereira. What was that at the end of the, I think that was at the fourth round, end of third, end of fourth, something of that nature. And it was kind of reminiscent of their old fights. And so I feel like if Izzy can maybe start a little bit faster, maybe try to inflict more damage rather than doing a point style fight, it might work out in his benefit. I don't know. Maybe if he continues with his point style fighting style, it might actually benefit him. He just got hit. He got caught, people. And the more I sit here and think about it, he might want to just continue on just trying to do that point fight style and not get hit by Alex Pereira. But he was doing all of that up until he got caught. And so I think that's a good matchup. If I had to choose the winner to that matchup, I'm going to go with Izzy. And I think it's going to force us to see a number 3 out of these gentlemen when it comes to MMA. I think these two, they're like connected spirits when it comes to the fight world. And I think we're going to see a little bit more outside of this fight from these two gentlemen. And so let me know what you guys think down in the comment section. I'm excited about these two fights. What was this again? This was UFC 287. And so I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.